What if I told you that everything you've ever heard about your birth date, determining your karma, everything that claims your life's direction, fate, and spiritual outcome is locked into those numbers on your birth certificate, means absolutely nothing? Stop for a moment. Let that question linger in your mind like a whispered secret. Some of you might already feel that tug of disbelief. You might be thinking, I've read so many articles or watched so many videos that say otherwise, so how can this possibly be true? Or maybe you're leaning in closer, intrigued by the possibility that you've been following a script that never had any real pages. If you feel that inner debate flickering, hold on to it, because that tension is exactly the crack through which new insights can shine. You might have been told that your birth date carries deep secrets or unlocks your cosmic blueprint, that your karmic destiny is shaped by the day, month, and year you took your first breath. But what if every bit of that is just a story we collectively tell ourselves, a story that does more harm than good? Let's not rush. We'll examine this possibility layer by layer. By the end, you may find yourself questioning how you ever believed otherwise, or you might land somewhere in between, deciding to keep certain beliefs while discarding others. Both outcomes are valuable, as long as they're reached with open-minded curiosity. And here's a little open loop for you right now. Could it be that releasing the belief in your karmic date actually sets you on a more authentic spiritual path? That might sound contradictory, but keep this question in mind. We'll circle back to it in surprising ways. I can practically sense some people ready to argue in the comments, itching to exclaim, "But my birth date does determine my cosmic path." If that's you, stay with me for a moment, because by the time we're finished, you'll have the mental tools to see why this idea, this seemingly innocent belief that your birthday decides your karma, simply doesn't hold up under scrutiny. It might even leave you questioning other long-held convictions. Isn't that exhilarating, though? The freedom that comes with realizing you are not confined by the numbers on your birth certificate, that your destiny, your life purpose, and your sense of self might be more dynamic and under your control than you've been led to believe. Let that sink in. Picture a world where your date of birth isn't a cosmic prison, but just one piece of a massive puzzle. How might that shift your perspective on relationships, goals, and self-discovery? Whisper to yourself right now, I am more than a date. If you believe this, or even if you're just curious, pause for a second and drop a like to amplify that intention for anyone else reading. In a digital age, our simple actions, likes, comments, shares, can transform a random thought into a movement. Are you up for being part of that spark? Before you scroll away in disbelief or reflexively click off, consider something. You might find this entire perspective eye-opening, perhaps the permission slip you need to break free from a karmic cage you never realized you were in. If you find yourself skeptical, that's perfect. A little dose of doubt can pave the way to genuine discovery. In fact, if you're comfortable, leave a comment about the number one doubt you have right now. Call it out. By naming our doubts, we often empower ourselves to confront them. Let's begin by challenging your belief system. Comment now if you think your birth date defines you, and while you're at it, if you're feeling bold, leave the phrase, "I think for myself," to let everyone know you're ready to free yourself from this cosmic fairy tale. Let's see how many of you are willing to confront this, to question everything you've assumed was true. If you've been on the fence, consider this your invitation to step into the unknown, an open loop that might lead you to a breakthrough you never expected. Many people I've met genuinely believe their entire life trajectory is dictated by some numerological karma embedded in their birth date. You might have believed it too. If so, I'm not blaming you. Humans have always sought patterns to make sense of life's chaos. It's comforting to say, my life is going this way because I was born on this specific day. But comfort doesn't always mean truth. If you're wondering whether Buddhism or other ancient traditions really teach that birth dates are cosmic destiny, here's a major spoiler. A lot of what passes as Karmic numerology, these days, is a modern hodgepodge of Western numerology, personal development jargon, and generalized pop spiritual beliefs. It's not a core, historically grounded Buddhist teaching, and that's not all. Many of the so-called ancient secrets you've seen might not be ancient at all. They can be repackaged ideas from the early 20th century or from modern social media thought leaders, rather than centuries-old spiritual texts. Let's keep that thread open. Maybe we'll discover more about how these myths have proliferated and why they persist. Keep listening, because we'll loop back to it in a chapter that might make you question everything you thought was ancient wisdom. Affirmation alert: I honor truth, not trendy beliefs. If you resonate, type it below so we can all see who's committed to digging deeper. Simply writing those words can feel like a small act of rebellion against mass-market spirituality. The main premise we're questioning is the idea that your birth date defines your karma. Let's flip that on its head. In reality, your karma, if we interpret the word broadly to mean the consequences of your actions and intentions, is shaped by your choices, your environment, your upbringing, your decisions, not the digits on your birth certificate. Let me plant another open loop here. What might your life look like if your beliefs were shaped more by your conscious intentions and less by an arbitrary date? Keep that question on the back burner as we progress. You might be surprised at the answers that surface. In a moment, we'll explore the psychological tricks, confirmation bias, the Barnum effect, the illusion of causality that lure us into feeling these numbers hold magical truths. Then we'll shine a bright scientific light on them and watch them fade away. But as I introduce these concepts, I want you to stay alert to any inner reactions you have. Do you feel defensive, excited, or maybe a bit unsettled? Each reaction is a clue about how deeply these beliefs might be rooted in your psyche. By the time you reach the end of this monologue, you might feel relief instead of disappointment. Because once you shed the notion that a specific date seals your fate, you open the door to endless possibilities. You reclaim a level of agency you may never have realized was there. If that excites you, hit share right now and challenge someone else to break out of these numeric myths. Think about how one small share can plant a seed of doubt. Doubt that, ironically, might grow into a beautiful tree of newfound clarity. We should also consider a critical question. Is it harmless to believe in birth date-based karma? Some might argue it's just a bit of fun, but is it really harmless if it leads you to surrender personal responsibility or misjudge yourself and others? That's another area we'll return to in more depth, because if believing in something false holds us back in ways we don't initially see, maybe it's not as benign as we think. Have you ever paused to imagine what it was like for our ancestors thousands of years ago, looking up at a night sky bursting with stars, no city lights, no technology to decipher the cosmos, and feeling compelled to create stories that explain it all? In that vast darkness, patterns like constellations became a source of meaning. Maybe you've seen pictures of ancient star maps where people connected dots to create mythical beasts or heroic figures. These connections served a purpose: navigation, agricultural cycles, but they also satisfied a deep-rooted need for structure in a mysterious universe. Fast forward to modern times. We might think we're more sophisticated, armed with our scientific knowledge and digital conveniences. Yet deep down, we still crave cosmic significance. Instead of painting myths across the sky, we paint them onto the calendar, our birth date, our zodiac sign, or anything that promises a sense of cosmic order. Ask yourself, am I seeking order or comfort in an otherwise chaotic existence? Let that question echo as you move through the rest of this video. You might find it illuminates why you or others still cling to the notion of a birth date-based destiny. Have you heard someone say, "I know birth date karma is real because my friend and I were both born on the same day, and we share all these crazy similarities"? It's tempting to latch onto stories like that, especially when they're shared with genuine excitement. But anecdotes, no matter how convincing, don't prove a universal law. Sure, you and your friend might have random similarities, but how many differences are you ignoring? We rarely hear from the thousands of pairs of people who share a birthday, yet live drastically different lives. That's the silence overshadowed by the rare coincidences. Silence doesn't go viral. Sensational coincidences do. If you're scrolling through social media and see a post about two karmic twins born on the same day, notice how you react. Are you drawn in by the novelty? Do you ignore the fact that countless other same-day births yield no remarkable parallels? It's a potent reminder of how easily we can be swept up by a compelling anecdote, even when the broader evidence is lacking. In many religious and mystical traditions, the most profound teachings involve surrendering to the present moment, cultivating compassion, or recognizing an unconditionally loving force. Notice how few revolve around your exact birth date. If the day you were born was so pivotal, wouldn't it appear in scripture after scripture, sermon after sermon? Yet instead, we see consistent messages about how our actions, our relationships, and our choices create the tapestry of our lives. This begs another question. Is it possible that focusing on your birth date might distract you from living the real spiritual values like kindness, patience, and introspection? That possibility can be unsettling. We often want a quick cosmic reference point. Am I a 7 or a 9? Does that define me? Rather than doing the deeper work of self-awareness that has no easy label. Let's talk about why so many people cling to birth date-based beliefs. Psychology reveals plenty of clues. Like everyone, we rely on cognitive shortcuts, mental biases that help us navigate a complicated world, but sometimes lead us astray. One is our quest for meaning. We're pattern-spotting machines, constantly looking for any sign that life is orchestrated by some cosmic design. Another reason is our deep fear of uncertainty. Life can be chaotic. It feels safer to think that a cosmic plan has it all mapped out. Social reinforcement also plays a role. If your friends or social media circles routinely talk about karmic birth dates, it becomes the norm. You find anecdotal proof that confirms it for you and ignore the bigger picture. Debate prompt. Are you brave enough to face the idea that no date is dictating your life? Share your thoughts. Let's make this comment section a battleground of ideas, because that's how breakthroughs happen. You might be surprised by who else is questioning the same things, or who might vehemently disagree with you, sparking a debate that could open new doors for both of you. Turning to historical context, numerology has existed for centuries in various civilizations. But the specific idea that your birth date cements your karmic destiny is more modern than most realize. It's a patchwork of Eastern and Western beliefs, helped along by social media, pop spiritual gurus, and a lucrative market for personalized karmic readings. Authentic Buddhist teachings center on how your intentions and actions generate karmic outcomes. You won't find canonical scriptures declaring, "Beware if you're born on the 7th, it dooms you to heartbreak at age 28. That's simply not in the foundational texts. But there's another angle to explore. Why would certain teachers or traditions continue to promote birth date karmic theories if they aren't genuinely ancient? Could there be something profitable about it, or at least attention-grabbing? Could it be an easy way to hook people into a system that promises quick cosmic answers? Keep that line of inquiry open, because once we crack open the entire world of New Age marketing tactics, you may see spiritual content online in a different light. Now let's talk about how we get fooled by confirmation bias, the Barnum effect, and the illusion of causality. Confirmation bias means you'll notice every instance that affirms your belief and ignore evidence that challenges it. For instance, if you believe that people born on the 14th are prone to relationship drama, you'll highlight every acquaintance with that birth date who struggles romantically. Meanwhile, you'll barely register all the 14th born folks who have stable relationships. The Barnum effect is when vague, universally true statements, "you value kindness, but worry about being misunderstood," feel uniquely tailored to you. This effect underlies many personality quizzes and astrology columns. We see it, think it's describing us perfectly, and assume it must be based on cosmic truths. What if something else you wholeheartedly believed, beyond just birth date karma, was also using Barnum statements to reel you in? That might be a startling thought, but keep it somewhere in the back of your mind as we go forward. The illusion of causality has us linking unconnected events, like having a fight soon after a numerology reading that said tense relationships ahead, and thinking the reading was right. We ignore the fact that fights or misunderstandings can happen at any time for reasons unrelated to a date-based destiny. None of this negates spiritual mysteries or genuine personal growth. It simply means birth date-based karma doesn't withstand scrutiny. Take it to any statistician or psychologist, and they'll find no credible evidence supporting the claim that people born on the same date share a prescribed spiritual fate. If it were true, entire blocks of people on Earth would be living carbon copies of each other's destinies. That simply isn't reality. In older, more authentic karmic teachings, particularly within Buddhism, your daily actions, intentions, and thoughts carry the weight of shaping your experiences. If you treat others kindly, you cultivate positive outcomes. If you harbor resentment, you foster negativity. That's the cycle. Nowhere does it say, but if you're born on the 12th, you can't escape relationship turmoil. Instead, it says, if you continually act out patterns of jealousy or fear, you will see more jealousy and fear manifest in your life. So here's a question for you. Could you apply that principle right now to break a negative pattern you're seeing in your life? You don't need to wait for a shift in the calendar or a favorable alignment. You can decide to shift yourself. That might feel both daunting and liberating, but guess what? Daunting is where real growth often begins. Letting go of old beliefs can feel like losing a piece of your identity. That's normal. On the other side, though, is uncharted territory where you define yourself by your values, habits, and dreams, not by some cosmic code. If that resonates, comment, "Hello, uncharted territory," as a signal to others that you're stepping into this new space of possibility. If birth date-based karma was real, we'd see robust evidence in global populations. Entire groups of people born on the same date would show identical patterns of moral or spiritual challenges. Yet, that doesn't exist. People born minutes apart in different circumstances can lead drastically different lives. A twin might have a wholly different personality from their sibling, or a friend with the same birthday might have an upbringing that sets them on a contrasting path. This is where it becomes critical to highlight what Buddhism and many other traditions actually stress: personal responsibility. If you believe your birth date dooms or blesses you to a specific karmic trajectory, you risk surrendering your power. You may think, "Oh, I'm stuck in toxic relationships because of my karmic birth blueprint. There's nothing I can do." This outlook can become self-fulfilling. Instead, if you recognize that your decisions and perspectives shape your life, you reclaim agency. You can reflect on why you choose certain partners, how you communicate, and whether you've truly learned from past mistakes. Suddenly, your future is a wide-open field rather than a narrow path predetermined by the calendar. Affirmation: I embrace the discomfort of growth. If you feel a stir of excitement or even anxiety upon hearing that your destiny is in your hands, write it in the comments for everyone else to see. You might be giving someone else the courage to do the same. Sometimes that realization creates a startling internal tension. Part of you wants the comfort of a cosmic plan. Another part yearns for self-determination. If you feel that mental tug-of-war, that's cognitive dissonance, and it's a sign you're on the edge of real transformation. Embrace the discomfort. let it be the teacher that propels you toward deeper self-awareness. Underneath all these beliefs lies a simple, deeply human fear. What if there's no plan? What if my life is random? That thought can be terrifying, leading us to cling to any system that says, no, it's not random. Your day, month, year, these are the signposts of your destiny. But randomness doesn't have to be bleak. It can be a canvas on which you paint your life story free from cosmic constraints. Or, from a spiritual perspective, maybe it isn't random, but it's also not dictated by dates. There could be a more intricate interplay of free will, interconnectedness, and personal growth that no single date can capture. It's true that some numerology or birth date-based guides offer beneficial advice, like suggesting patience or mindfulness. But that's generic wisdom, not something inherently tied to a date. If these guides dropped the cosmic claim and just offered grounded tips, would they lose their appeal? Possibly, because many of us crave that sense of uniqueness. This is about my special date. So, ironically, the cosmic packaging might be what attracts us, even if the core teachings are universal. So if your birth date doesn't define your karma, what does? In Buddhist terms, your continuous actions, your state of mind, your intentions, moment by moment. In a more secular sense, everything from your upbringing and culture to your genes and free choices. It's a tapestry of factors. Complex, yes, but also free. Complexity means you can shift your path at any time instead of being stuck in a cosmic lockstep. That's powerful, but it also means you can't blame everything on your birth date. Are you prepared for that level of accountability? Debate Q. Are you ready to accept a more complex but ultimately empowering worldview? Let us know below. Or do you prefer the comfort of a single-digit-based blueprint? There are no wrong answers, only honest ones. This is yet another moment of reflection that invites you to figure out exactly where you stand. Will you pick convenience or complexity? Or maybe find a balance that works for you? If this resonates with you, if you feel that rush of possibility, comment, "I decide my destiny." It's a potent way to show you're stepping beyond the limitations of a birth date myth. And if you're not convinced, challenge me in the comments. Let's dig deeper. Real growth comes from civil disagreement, not hiding from it. Often, the best revelations arise when we clash ideas, question assumptions, and remain open to new evidence. You might be thinking, but what about birth months or spirit animals? Because yes, people also like to say that your birth month not only reveals your personality, but pairs you with a spirit animal that supposedly defines your fate. If that intrigues you or makes you even more skeptical, you're in luck. My next video is all about they lied about your birth month and spirit animal. Here's the truth. We'll dive into how environment, cultural conditioning, and myth-making create illusions about which animal you allegedly embody. Trust me, the rabbit hole goes deeper than you think. Check out our next video, They Lied About Your Birth Month and Spirit Animal. Here's the truth. Click on it to keep your momentum going. If you've liked what you've learned here, or if you're hungry for more myth-busting, you won't want to miss that conversation. But here's another question or thought. Have you ever wondered whether the entire concept of spirit animals might be a cultural misinterpretation or a commercial invention? If you feel that question tugging at your conscience, definitely stay tuned for the next installment. Imagine for a moment, not only is your birth date not an all-powerful karmic stamp, but your birth month and spirit animal might also be illusions propped up by cultural trends. Feeling that twinge of unease yet? That's good. It means you're questioning. Welcome to the gateway of cognitive dissonance, a fertile ground for real change. Instead of pushing away that discomfort, dwell in it for a bit. You might find it leads you to deeper self-awareness than any karmic reading ever could. A classic example. In some countries, children born just before the school year cutoff date might be younger than most of their classmates. Over time, this influences confidence, social roles, and academic performance, none of which is cosmic. Yet, ironically, people might attribute these differences to birth month-based traits or zodiac influences. What if that's simply environment, not destiny? The next video will break down how these illusions often arise from everyday factors instead of a grand cosmic script. If you're ready for the next step, subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our deep dive into birth month myths and so-called spirit animal truths. And if you know anyone who's constantly labeling themselves by a date or zodiac sign, send them this link. Let's spark conversations that liberate rather than confine. You never know whose life you'll change by simply sharing an alternate viewpoint. Remember, you are not bound by the digits on your birth certificate. You shape your destiny with your decisions day after day. That's what real spiritual teachings emphasize, the present moment as the pivot point for change, not some cosmic scoreboard that tallies your entire future based on a single date. Let's circle back to that open loop from the very start. Could releasing the belief in your karmic date actually set you on a more authentic spiritual path? Think about how many spiritual traditions highlight intentions and actions over predestined codes. Isn't it possible that focusing on the living, breathing reality of your daily choices is more aligned with genuine spiritual growth than fixating on a number? If your answer is yes, or even if it's maybe, you're already stepping into a new perspective. If your answer is a firm no, keep reading anyway. Sometimes we need to challenge ourselves repeatedly before the deeper message clicks. Final affirmation: my life is fluid, not fixed by a date. If that hits home, pin it in the comments or on your personal feed. Own your new perspective and let it anchor you the next time someone claims your fate was written before you could even speak. Think about it. Do you really want to hand over that much power to the calendar? But let's not pretend this transformation will be smooth sailing. One thing I'll leave you with is the question of what happens when you start applying this same skeptical lens to other aspects of your life, like relationships, career paths, or bigger existential questions about why we're here at all. If you notice that you're unraveling more threads of your worldview, don't be alarmed. This is the nature of genuine inquiry. Once you tug at one loose end of the tapestry, you often discover new corners that need reweaving. Comment, like, subscribe, and don't forget, once you finish here, check out my next video. They lied about your birth month and spirit animal. Here's the truth. To see how these myths play out in yet another dimension of our lives, you might be stunned by just how many layers there are to peel back. Here's another tantalizing question. What if the personality traits we often associate with certain animals or certain months are really just stereotypes that limit our growth? Could it be that embracing these stereotypes ironically stifles the qualities within us that don't fit the mold? So let me leave you with one final nudge. The life you lead is an ever-evolving story, and you hold the pen. No birth date, no birth month, no contrived spirit animal label can override the power of choice that thrives in every breath you take. If you feel that contradiction between old beliefs and new freedom, good. That's the cognitive dissonance that shakes us awake, the friction that births real insight. Welcome to the journey of true self-discovery. No cosmic shortcuts required. I'll see you in the comments and, hopefully, at the end screen of this video where the next myth about birth months and spirit animals is waiting to be unraveled. Let's keep the momentum going together. Recap and invitation to reflect your birth date is not your destiny. Realizing this might initially feel unsettling, but it also opens a door to more personal agency than you've ever had. We're all susceptible to psychological shortcuts. Confirmation bias, the Barnum effect, and the illusion of causality can make us see patterns where none truly exist. Ancient wisdom rarely focuses on numbers. Core Buddhist or spiritual teachings center on mindset, compassion, and mindfulness. Actions in the here and now, not birth date codes. Actionable insight. Before you accept any cosmic claim, test it. Are there alternative explanations? Does it align with broader evidence? Look ahead. birth months, and spirit animals. A whole new frontier of myth-busting awaits. Don't miss the next video. They lied about your birth month and spirit animal. Here's the truth. To see how easily we can mistake cultural or environmental factors for cosmic destiny. Now, if anything you've read or heard here has stirred questions, doubts, or even excitement, let it fuel your next steps. Whether those steps involve a late-night journal entry, a spirited conversation with a friend, or diving deeper into real spiritual texts, make it count. Growth is rarely comfortable, but always worth it. Take a breath. Feel the subtle difference in your mindset now compared to when you started. Perhaps you feel more grounded, or maybe you feel a flicker of uncertainty. Both are signs you're alive, questioning, and evolving. That's the sweet spot of transformation. So, are you ready? Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a comment sharing your biggest aha moment or your fiercest objection. Both are welcome. Give this video a like if you're excited to keep exploring, and most importantly, watch the next video about birth months and spirit animals, because the journey has just begun, and trust me, you don't want to miss what we uncover next.